Well, hi guys, welcome back to Linda's Pantry, and I'm super excited about this video because I've been planning this for weeks and I just haven't had the opportunity. Either I didn't have the potatoes or I didn't have the time or whatever, and I just said last night, I've got to do this, and then of course something came up. I'm making potato bread, but I made the potatoes last night and I riced them, so that's what's in here. Are the riced potatoes. These are yellow Yukon Gold. You can use russets potato bread. It is the fluffiest, most delicious sandwich bread. And my goal right now is to make a sandwich bread that we will eat instead of store-bought. I am determined that we're going to find a bread that is suitable for all of our needs, that is soft for sandwiches, will also be good. I've tried brioche. Brioche is too much work. This is as close to that as you can get. So if you've never had potato bread, now's your chance. Absolutely delicious. Let me get the potato starch water and the milk out of the microwave, and we're going to get going. So come on in. Okay, guys, full disclosure. This is terrible. I got the whole video done. I went to edit last night, and I thought I turned the camera on when I actually turned it off. And so there was a whole segment of me quietly kneading that you guys didn't need to watch. But the part that was the most important, putting the recipe together for you, gone. Nowhere in sight. I checked my recently deleted everything. I just had the camera off and I thought it was on. So I'm going to redo that portion of it for you, and you'll get the same results. This bread is so fantastic. So I have to do the recipe for you. So in this bowl, I have 3.5 cups of all-purpose flour. You can use bread flour too, and I did get some today, but I'm going to stick with this for now, and that's because that's what I made the end result in, and you'll see it at the end. I've got my yeast out of the refrigerator. I have in this cup, or this measuring cup, I have 3/4 of a cup of the potato water. So I boiled off a couple russet potatoes, peeled them, boiled them with a little salt in the water. That's it. Covered them with water. When they were tender enough, I then put them through the potato ricer. And you want a cup, give or take. And in the last recipe, it was a little over a cup, so that's what I'm sticking to because that's what I got. But a cup is fine. And then you want 3/4 of a cup of the potato water, the water that you cook the potatoes in, and 3/4 of a cup of milk. Warm to bath water warm. Come on in and let me show you what happens from here. Okay. So now that we are on, I can see the ticker going. I'm going to put a tablespoon, actually about a tablespoon and a half of my yeast. And this yeast is, well, it's almost 10 years old, but it was in the freezer, and then I keep it in the fridge. And it's good indefinitely. It's kind of like a sourdough starter. You're okay as long as you are keeping it cold and keeping it dormant. You don't want to kill it off with heat. And then I'm going to add a tablespoon of sugar even though it's got sugar in the milk, there's also salt in that water. I want to counteract that a little bit. Go give this a little stir around the pool right now. Okay. And we're going to let this proof and get all happy and bubbly and activate that yeast. Even though I know it's active, I've not had, I think one time when I was in my late teens, I had yeast that was expired, a packet, and it did not, the bread did not rise. And I was very disappointed because I was trying to impress my kid's father about my homemade bread making skills. He didn't get much from it. Okay, I've also got 1/3 of a cup of melted butter. That's your fat. Now you could use oil, but the butter gives it that brioche flavor that you aren't going to get from regular oil. Does that make sense? Okay. So I think I'm going to bring you in a little bit closer into the bowl so you can see what's going on. Okay, so I'm hoping that's going to work for you. And again, the potatoes, I want a cup for the recipe, but it's okay to put more than a cup. And it's riced potatoes. So you put them through a ricer. You could just do a potato masher. It's not really going to make or break the recipe, as long as you're able to work it. And this is perfect. I have about the same amount as I had last time. I had just over a cup, and that's what I've got this time. So we've got this and that. So a cup of potatoes, and we don't want to waste these 2 tablespoons of potatoes there. And if your potatoes have any dark spots, you want to get that out of there, because it'll show up in your bread and you won't be happy about it. And then I go ahead with my flour and I add my salt, which is literally 2 teaspoons of salt. So there's 1 and 2. We don't want it too salty because, again, there's salt in that potato starch water. Not a lot, but there is a little bit. Okay, now we're going to mix that salt in, because salt can kill your yeast. We don't want that. So let's get this going. And I just had to see what was going on over there. Oh, and I need 2 more tablespoons of, so a total of 3 tablespoons of sugar for this recipe. Doop. Done. Get that mixed in, right? Easy, easy, easy. Nice. And our yeast is now nice and frothy. Look at that. Look at that. So nice. And you can tell it's alive. Go ahead and plop that right on in. Get all that goodness out of that cup. And now, my melted butter. This is how easy it is. Melted butter. And you could just use softened butter. I went ahead and melted it a little bit because, well, that's what happened. And then just start getting it mixed with the Danish whisk. Makes it so much easier. And it just takes a couple of minutes for you to rehydrate that flour and get it where you want it. And then I also, this is the point, because you want to give it a couple of minutes. If you have to add a little bit more liquid, you can. You can add some milk or water. But I'm going to let it rehydrate. And you're going to have a shaggy dough for a minute. So I let this dough kind of let it rest a couple of minutes, and then we'll turn it out and start kneading. And that was the segment that this is the majority of the segment that you missed, was this getting the recipe put together for you. I was so bummed. Anyway, I want you to know this is such an easy bread recipe, and you can tell it's not sticky at all. You are going to be working in a little bit more flour. It's up to 5.5 cups of flour, but that's also subject to the humidity in the air and everything else. So we're going to let that sit for just a second while I flour my surface, and we'll get back here. And I've been on the quest to have this perfect sandwich bread for my husband, and this is it. He said this morning we had French toast with it, and he was like, I don't care if I ever have store-bought bread again. This is the best sandwich French toast bread I've ever had. So, yay! I did it! Okay. And I know all the ingredients. They're all wholesome. You can do everything organic if you want. You can do all that. So just letting this kind of come together. We're going to get this kneaded. And it kneads together pretty easily. You're going to end up with a really soft dough. Can you do this in a stand mixer? Yes. It's very easy in a stand mixer. And you would want to knead it for 5 to 7 minutes. So you get a nice, smooth, elastic ball of dough. And that's exactly what's going to happen with this. It's going to come together. So I'm going to get this all kneaded, and then we're going to let it rise. I've got the oven warmed up so it's nice and warm. And that's where it'll rise. And then you can watch the rest of the video. And we're going to have 2 more loaves of beautiful, beautiful bread, potato bread, for the pantry shelf to get us through the week. Okay. And trust me, I didn't think we'd go through 2 loaves already, but we only have about a third of one of the loaves left. I did take some of this to work, and everyone loved it, so that's where part of it went. But you're already getting a nice ball of dough. Very easy, nothing sticking to your hands, so it's not a sticky, messy dough, which is nice. Okay, let's finish the rest of the video. And at the end, I will let you see, I'll let you see a picture of these as well. If not, another segment of how it came out. Okay, I got 5 more minutes of this kneading. Get the heels of your hands in and knead it. Anybody can make bread. Anybody. And if you've got arthritis, use a mixer. Okay? All right. 5 more minutes of this, and we'll get it to proof. I'm just going to oil the inside of this bowl that I already used, and with some vegetable oil, cover it with saran, put it in to rise, and we'll be back. And you'll see the rest of the video. It is a beautiful, lofty, happy, oh my gosh, happy. I'm going to dip my bench scraper in some flour, and we're just going to let that deflate. Oh, so good. And then I'm going to shape it into my loaves for loaf pan, or to put in my loaf pans, and we'll get this out. Oh, it's soft and pillowy, and it's important that you know how this feels. So it's really soft, like focaccia soft right now, but let's flatten it out, deflate, get the gases out of it. And since we've got it right here, let's go ahead and get 2 pretty equal pieces. We'll just put one over here, and we'll go one over here. And we don't want to add a whole lot of flour. So I really want to just shape this into loaves. Woo, I'm so excited. Let's shape, and I want kind of even pieces. I think the other night or the other day I did, there was a spot on the potato that I didn't catch. So the other day I did bread, and one loaf was a little bit bigger. So you could weigh these, and I could. Okay, I feel like those are pretty close to even, right? So we're just going to get these right into our loaf pans, and they're nice and warm. We're going to put the bigger one in the taller loaf pan. I'm going to put this one right here, and I'm so excited for this because we were just talking about it, how we really want this to be our go-to bread. So really and truly. And you can shape it however you want. You can get all the sides down. I'm just sprinkling a little flour on top. So when it bakes, you get that rustic little flour thing going. And now I can clean up my board. This is going to go back in the warm oven, and when it doubles in size, it's ready to bake, and we will bake it off. All right, so I feel like this one is definitely doubled in size. We've got a good loft. It's going to actually go a little bit more. And what I do is I check just one little spot here. And if it punches back a lot or fast, then it probably could use a little bit more rise. But it's going to rise in the oven too. This is leaving an indentation, which tells me, yeah, okay. So we're going to get this in a 375-degree oven. It is going to rise some more, but I'm super excited. We cannot wait to have a warm slice of this bread. You do want to leave your bread, literally, you want to leave your bread. You just heard the wood stove door open. You want to leave your bread cool completely so you don't ruin the crumb. The crumb will kind of smush down upon itself, and yeah, you got to let it cool. So in the oven, it's going to go. The oven's already preheated to 375, and I'll bring you back when it's all done. Okay, so it's actually getting kind of late at night. But I've got the bread out of the oven. Don't they look beautiful? You could smell this upstairs. It is phenomenal. So we're going to get that out of the bread pan. Don't let it collapse. Oh, it's so soft. This bread is so soft. And part of that, I think, did collapse. Oh. I don't know, maybe if I let it sit in the bread pan a little longer, I don't really want to do that. But we're going to get this out of this. I think there's a little bit stuck on that one. Let's get a knife and we'll remedy that. And, we have somebody's causing problems here on the little homestead. So let's get that. We'll get that right out. Maybe. There we go. And now we'll turn that upright. This is a super soft dough. So know that you may have some fall down. Let it rest. Let's let this just sit here. This one fell a little bit. This one might have too. I don't know if any of you feel like you should leave it in the pan longer, because I feel like it's collapsing a little bit. But let me just tell you, this bread is phenomenal. So let's get these bread pans ready for wash, and we'll let this cool down completely before we cut into it. Okay, guys, it is the next morning, and I am here to do the taste test on this bread. Obviously, we've already had some. It is so wonderful, and I cut into this loaf when it was still a little warm. So let me just tell you, it is divine. I think we hit the mark, but come on in. I'm going to show you a piece of bread and butter the next morning. So if you wanted to keep your top really soft, this is plenty soft for me. It doesn't have a thick crust on it at all. If you wanted to keep it softer, you can, when it comes out of the oven, touch it up with some melted butter. But come on in, let's get a taste test. Okay, here we go. And I'm doing this a little backwards for me, but trying to give you a visual with the camera. And this right there, this had a little bit of a bubble on the side here, but right there, a little bit of a pucker. It stuck to the pan just a little bit, but it cuts beautifully. The other loaf, I believe, will be even better because we did. But look at this. It's just so soft. So soft. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm excited. I'm actually getting ready to make my lunch for the day. So part of it, this butter isn't quite soft enough. Yeah, it's a little hard. Sitting out overnight, it's chilly in here. Let me get some, I'll get some butter melted. Okay. Softened. We got softened butter. And look at that. I'm just going to tell you, my husband loved this bread. So I may have hit the pay dirt on what bread to have in the house for sandwiches. That we don't have to go to the store to buy this. It's absolutely beautiful. Look at that crumb. Absolutely beautiful. And sandwich divine. Okay. I'm super excited. Okay. Taste test time. This takes me back to my childhood. The crumb is just so soft, and it's that potato starch. It holds that moisture in, and it's got such a great flavor. It's not too salty, slightly sweet. You could cut back on the sugar if you wanted to, or you could use honey. There's a couple variations you could do with this. It is wonderful. Please, 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 if you want a good sandwich bread, I believe this is it. So I'm going to make my sandwich for lunch. Oh my gosh. This will be my breakfast. I'm going to make my sandwich for lunch, and not one piece of this will get wasted. I will, if we don't eat the heel, which I will, if those don't get eaten, we will put that in bread pudding or breadcrumbs. I store my bread. I'm going to buy some fabric bags, but for now, I store my bread, and especially if I'm gifting bread, in these bread bags that I get on Amazon. They actually come with little, stickers to seal them shut. This is going to sit on the counter. It's not going to be long before this is gone, and I'll be making another batch. All right, guys, I can't wait to see you next time for another delicious recipe. And if I make anything out of the stale bread, I will bring you back. The crumb and the crust after sitting out all night, still so soft and wonderful. It is really, really good. All right, guys, take my word for it. This bread is phenomenal, and I hope if you like this sort of thing, you'll hit that subscribe button, leave me a comment, and as always, maybe share it on your Facebook page, but give me a thumbs up.